The Knoxy and Cax Show with Liz Knox and Karel Emard. Let's get it. Go.
Welcome back to the Knoxy and Cax Show. We are your hosts, Liz Knox and Karel Emard. This episode, of course, brought to you by SDPN and the PWHPA. We are lucky to introduce to you. I'd like to call her, honestly, the heartbeat of the PWHPA. Yep. She won U18 gold with Team Canada, graduated from Boston University, played for Boston in CWHL, represented the Boston region with the PWHPA, and is currently the marketing and events consultant for the PWHPA from Cole Harbour, Nova Scotia, Alexis Miller. Yay!
Welcome.
I wish I had a dog barking in the background like Jamie did. That would have been so much cooler.
Sorry, Winnie's not there today.
Yeah, we had to make sure that our dogs were out of the scene so that they weren't making too much noise. And I'm seeing that your house is a little quiet right now. Where are your boys?
Yeah, I had originally planned because Matt has an off day today. So Carson and Reese are actually in the car with Matt driving around right now. So I didn't have lots of screaming and crying and asking mama, mama, mama in the background. And originally they were supposed to go for a walk, but it's snowing outside. So Matt's just driving around in the car with them.
That's amazing. Matt, of course, is your husband, and your boys. Give us the background. What are their names? How old are they?
Carson will be 2 on St. Patrick's Day. So coming up, I can't believe he's almost 2. And then Reese is 2 months old. And Matt is my knight in shining armor, college basketball coach, and is my saving grace today so that I could be here with you guys.
Well, we appreciate you, Matt.
Yeah. Thank you, Matt, for doing that. And we appreciate you taking the time to be with us this morning. Actually.
Yeah, I'm so happy to be here.
So let's bring it back to where it all started. Cole Harbour, Nova Scotia. This is like the place in Canada that just produces star hockey players, and no exception here with us today. So the first question you probably get asked when people hear that you're from Cole Harbour is, do you know Sidney Crosby?
That is a very frequent question, and the answer is yes. So Sid actually grew up, obviously is a fair bit older than I am, but he played with my dad as an underager when he was playing midget, and got to sort of follow him around the rink in his very early stages. And you'll see like a lot of those interviews and footage of him when he still had like his big teeth and like hadn't really grown into his face yet. And that's all from when he was actually playing for my dad. So I got to watch him very frequently. And then obviously I also grew up with McKinnon. He and I are only a year apart. So we actually played on the same team together every other year for a long time.
And I think we have a picture that you sent in. So if you're watching this on YouTube, you can see this picture. And Cross, you like tower McKinnon.
Yeah, I've been 5'8" since 7th grade. So I haven't grown since then, but Nate has definitely grown since then, considering at that age when we were playing Bantam, he was actually well below my shoulders. So yeah, there's a significant height difference there. Yeah.
Jeez. 5'8". I wish I was like 5'7" or 5'8". Jesus, like high school. Like, man, I'm jealous. So then, okay. So we go from Cole Harbour. You've played with McKinnon and everyone, I guess, during that time. Now you decide to leave your hometown, right, to go to prep school. So you're going to Shattuck, St. Mary's.
Yeah.
Did you visit any other prep, or this was the one that you wanted to go to? And, you know, you're 12 and you're on a visit. Tell us all about this thing and why you chose St. Mary's.
Yeah. So I only visited 2 schools when I was deciding to go away. First was Appleby College, and then the other was Shattuck. And I actually have 2 fun stories about both of my experiences touring. So first, when I went to Appleby, ironically, Shattuck was playing at Appleby the weekend that I was touring. And I sort of planned that, I guess, to get a vibe of like them versus Shattuck, et cetera. And I don't know how the rules worked once upon a time, but for some reason I was dressed in the game. I got to play with Appleby against Shattuck in an exhibition. I have no idea how this happened, but Shattuck actually ended up beating Appleby and myself at the time 9-1. Okay. And so right then and there, I was kind of like, maybe I should go to Shattuck. So I went in toward Shattuck, but little did I know that my gear wasn't going to show up when I got there. So here I am at 12 years old on the ice with Amanda Kessel, Brianna Decker, Monique and Jocelyn Lamoureux. Wow. And they're, I think, like 3 or 4 years older than I am. And my gear doesn't show up. So I'm borrowing hockey gear from one of the players who's injured and not dressed. And the coach just happened to have brand new skates that were in my size. But little did I know that they weren't even sharpened yet. So I'm on the ice with these like superstars that I idolize that I can't even skate. Like literally I'm falling all over the place. I'm so embarrassed. Like,
yeah, sick. Where do we find this recruit?
Yeah, it was a nightmare. And somehow they still let me in. Thank goodness. But like, oh my gosh, that is something I never want to relive again. Like probably the most embarrassing moment of my entire life.
That's hilarious. You just alluded to those girls, but Shattuck, for those of you that don't necessarily know where it is, it's in Minnesota, and it is I'd say like everyone that pretty much went to the US or ended up on the US national team has gone through Shattuck. Their program is fabulous. They actually make really, really, really amazing players. So it doesn't surprise me that they took you in, actually, Cross. And you were there for the whole time, 4 years? Or
yeah, so I was there grade 9 through 12.
Wow.
And funny enough, that was actually where I learned to take a slap shot on my visit. Monique and Jocelyn were so kind enough to take me under their wing and teach me how to do that as a 12-year-old. You think I would have been very eager to take slapshot as a defenseman? That was massive at the time. But for some reason, I never honed in on that skill, and they taught that to me. And I actually texted Jocelyn last year after she had retired, and I just shared that memory with her because we had never really talked about it before. And I told her that, and I was like, I don't know if this is weird to tell you, but you taught me how to take a slap shot, and that's really cool. So that was my retirement. Congratulations and a thank you.
No kidding. And you kind of mentioned it before, lots of big names at Shattuck. You kind of said a little earlier before we were recording here that there was maybe some stuff that happened between Decker and Drew Burns. And I mean, we all played against Drew Burns. She's a great gal, but she's feisty on the ice. So why don't you tell us that story?
Oh my goodness. Well, so as a freshman in high school at a very prestigious prep school, I sort of just sit there, stare at people, listen, whatever. And I'm sorry for sharing this, Decker and Drew, but yeah, there was a handful of fist fights or complications or things that you just don't necessarily hear about or see beyond the scenes. And they were pretty young at the time, and I literally could not tell you what it was about. But yeah, it got a little messy.
You know what? That's team culture. Like you go to battle together. Sometimes you're battling each other, but at the end of the day, you have respect for each other on the ice. And I mean, that's probably what made them both great hockey players, right? They're highly competitive. So we love to hear that. And
you spend all day, every day with the same people. Like you live with them, you eat with them, like you practice with them, you play with them. You're on 7 to 12-hour bus trips weekly. Like you really learn how to get on each other's nerves. I will say that, like, so, and that you had the unique experience, obviously, of going through prep school. So you've had that culture now, so you kind of know what to expect. And then you went to university, which is very similar. You're around these girls 24/7. So you started at UNH in 2012. So you did 2 years there. Yep.
And then you transferred to BU, to Boston University. So tell us about that decision and kind of how that played out for you.
Yeah. So originally, when I was deciding on like university, it actually came down to UNH and BU. And ultimately I chose UNH because, to be honest, it was probably selfish. Like I wanted to go and show up and play right away. Like I wanted to be on the power play. I wanted to be on the penalty kill. I wanted to start games every time. And I felt like UNH gave me that opportunity over going to BU. And it did, which was awesome. Loved my time at UNH. But after our coach was fired after my sophomore year, I didn't feel like it was handled the best. And honestly, I was there to play for him. And when he wasn't there anymore, I felt like I needed to explore my options. So once I decided to transfer, naturally, BU was one of the first schools that popped into my mind. And the reason for that is actually after I committed to UNH when I was a junior in high school, I got a handwritten card in the mail from Brian DeRocher, head coach at Boston University, congratulating me on my commitment. He was disappointed that I wasn't going to BU, but he was looking forward to watching me grow as a player in person in Hockey East. Like who does that? I actually still have the letter. Yeah.
He is one of a kind human. BD is, I love it. Keep going. So you're getting this letter, whatever you're going through. And then did you just pick up the phone and call him up, or how did that go? Is like, obviously there's a time span between the two, right? And were you still connected with him?
Yeah. So, obviously I was connected a little bit where I would see him at the rink when we were playing against BU, because playing the same conference. Right. But I sort of just shot out an email blindly and was like, hey, can I come to BU? He's like, oh, let's chat, like get on the phone. And I mean, the transfer process is like, so many people do it, which is awesome. And I love that it's available, but it is not for the faint of heart. Like, not only are you dealing with feeling like you're disappointing your current teammates, and you have all this guilt for like leaving that family that you established already, combined with trying to figure out if there's a school that even has space left in the spring for the following year, because most scholarships are gone by that point. Mm-hmm. And then also, like, once you transfer, trying to like find your way into this family that's already established, being a part of a class that's been together for 2+ years already. Like, man, it was hard, but it was also like probably one of the best things I ever did. And in that first year, I was really lucky to play with somebody like Marie-Philippe Poulin and getting to play with
Who's that?
Poulin?
Never heard of her.
Oh, let me tell you about her. Now, she is quite the goal scorer. For those of you who might not know who she is, just kidding. Everyone knows who she is. At least I freaking hope so. If not, you probably don't watch Women's Hockey. So.
Well, it's incredible too, because I was, kind of doing, I know Kraz like through the PA, and I never, we didn't really overlap. Our ages are a little bit different. So I was doing a little bit of background, and I found this quote that Brian DeRocher said about you in that redshirt season. And he said, she came in here very vibrant, very energetic, very engaging. Whoa, reading is hard. She went and helped in sports information, did stats for the team, and took her mind off just sitting in the locker room. She got herself into what may be the best shape of her life. Alexis turned what could have been a slight negative into 3 or 4 positives. So I think it's really interesting that this connection that you had with this coach was formed before you had even gone to UNH. And it was something that was genuine and authentic and felt real, because you were able to come back to it. And obviously, the respect is mutual. He speaks very highly of you, and you went on to co-captain at BU.
Yeah, I did. My senior year, I was co-captain with Natalie Flynn, who's actually now rostered on the Boston region of the PWHPA, which is so awesome. Just to stay connected with my former teammates in the PWHPA and my role there. But I was really lucky that my teammates trusted me, and my teammates elected me to be one of their leaders. And what a great experience to be in that leadership role and to grow that relationship with my coaches, but also my teammates in a different light.
Okay. And I do have one more question.
Okay.
You were awarded the Woman of the Year. Like, you are the best woman of the entire 365 days at BU. Tell us what that award represents and why, I'm sure you were so honored to receive it.
The Woman of the Year award obviously is given out annually to usually a senior at BU. And I think a lot of it just came from being involved in so many things. I have a tendency to wear a lot of hats when I do things.
No way, really? No way.
It just is one of those things that I find myself doing. So I was in our student athletic advisory committee on the board. I worked for athletics communications department, calling games for men's hockey, men's and women's basketball, et cetera. Did stats for other sports. And then I actually also worked at our Office of Disability Services, essentially working with all the students on campus that had disabilities to sort of help them make their academic studies as easy as possible with said disability. So I think like
superhero, honestly, while getting your degrees and your master's, just like a lot of it.
Do it all.
It just is one of those things where I just had my hands in so many different things, and it was an honor to be recognized for really just working hard to do my best to make things the best for everyone on campus.
And this is why she's the best with us at the PA right now.
It's
guys.
true.
Like,
Thank
I
you.
mean, that's why BD remembered you and did absolutely come over. You're coming to BU. We are doing this. It makes sense. Okay. I want to switch gear then to after BU. Okay. So you graduate, co-captain, all of this. You played for the Boston Blades, right? In the CDA.
I did. Yeah. So right after I graduated, I actually took a year off. Matt was a graduate assistant coach with the University of Arizona men's basketball team living in Tucson, Arizona. So like naturally, I'm going to go sit in the sunshine for a year.
Hell yes.
Why not?
Graduated from college. I biked across America in a bike race. And then I moved to Arizona.
Wait, I'm learning right now. And everyone else
rewind.
is learning. What?
Just casually, we're like, oh, I'll just bike across the states.
Yeah. My dad does a lot of like wild bike races and like a lot of like Ironman triathlons. Like my dad's sort of like a weirdo, a crazy person when it comes to like athletics and fitness. So I decided that year that I was going to race in this bike race called the Trans Am bike race. And it goes from Oregon to Virginia, and it's fully self-supported. So like you carry everything on your bicycle, you sleep under the stars, you sleep on the side of the road, wherever. And because I was doing that with my dad, we turned it into a fundraiser. So we raised...
Of course
you did.
Of course.
we raised $31,000 for the IWK Children's Hospital in Halifax.
That's
and
amazing.
It was designated to start a obesity prevention program for children. So that was sort of like my cap off of my college years. Like instead of throwing a party, I decided to bike 4,000 plus miles across the US.
One friend that did it for fun, like across Canada for fun. Like she took her time. How long was that race? And you were racing. So how?
Yeah, we raced. It took us a little over 35 days.
My God.
Mel did it in 3 months. You could not pay me to do that.
It was a lot.
I'm impressed.
It was one of those things where like we had raised so much money for it. It was like, once I started, I could not stop. Like there was just so much riding on it. And I think my ass like still hurts from it. I'm not gonna lie. Like that was like almost 5 years ago. And I think I'm still bruised.
Honestly, that is incredible. Like these are the kind of people that I want our listeners to get to know, because it's not just about hockey. Like that's just, you're reaching out any kind of space that you can touch, you're making it better. And I think like, I mean, I'm going to pump your tires this entire time. Like I'm learning new things about you all the time, but that is incredible. So you bike across the country to raise money for a children's hospital. Like it's not a big deal. It's fine, guys. I do that all the time.
I'm impressed. I'm loving this right now.
And then you decide to come back to hockey because now you are in the best shape, I'm sure, of your life. And you go to the Boston Blades, and the Boston Blades at this time, let's call a spade, a little bit of a struggling organization, but
that is nice. That is very nice.
But tell us about, the team culture, because I know as well as anybody else that sometimes a losing team can be the team that bonds the most. So tell us about your time with the Blades.
Yeah. So, I mean, as most people know, we were not very good at that time. We were lucky to score a goal. Actually, to be honest, we were lucky.
Them anyways.
We were lucky to have possession of the puck.
Oh, come on. It wasn't that bad.
No.
It felt that bad. Trust me. It felt that bad, especially after coming off a year of not playing hockey, like really getting back into it and just being absolutely dominated by the best players in the world. That was a lot of fun. But I will say, beyond the ice and beyond losing, like at that point, for some reason, it didn't even matter. Like my teammates were my best friends. I wanted to hang out with them all the time. And it was that camaraderie that you had in college, but that you actually get to have in the real world that a lot of people don't necessarily get at their day jobs or whatever. Yeah. And we'd travel on the weekend. We had very questionable experiences, whether it be travel, locker room, whatever. And we spent a lot of time drinking together, which I think definitely helped build that team bonding.
You gotta have fun. You have to find a way to have fun. And it's hard when you're losing games, right?
Yeah, that's why we loved flying porter anytime we played in Canada, because it was free beer and free wine. So we were like, yes, this is perfect. It's exactly what we needed. it. Yeah.
Oh my God. And this is what's fun. Like I want our listeners to get to actually somewhat understand why we keep playing hockey. We love the game, don't get me wrong or anything, but the locker room and the bus trips and the hotel, like that's what we don't want to leave basically till we actually have to.
I swear it gets better with age. Like the older you get, the more fun it is. And like, I remember actually what is now my last game in the CWHL, because little did I know we weren't going to have another season. But we were in Toronto. And we got off the ice to find out our flight home was canceled. And this is like on a Sunday night. All of us have to get back for work. I already took half the day Friday off, pretending I was sick. Like I seriously. And I'm like, oh my God, I need to be at work on Monday morning. But there was no flights out that night, no flights until the next day. So we all just rented cars at the airport and drove home in a snowstorm. Like we essentially just like raced each other home in a snowstorm. And then I get back at like 3:00 in the morning to my car buried under like 2 or 3 feet of snow. So I'm sitting there shoveling 3 a.m. just to drive an hour home to get dressed to go to work. Like people do not understand, like, unless you lived it, you do not understand the reality of professional women's hockey in its previous / semi-current state. Like really it is, we are on the road to better and better, but it was a struggle for a while.
It was still a struggle. Yeah.
It's wild that this is like 2 years ago, 3 years ago. This is the reality that we're living. Like this is not, this is not 20 years ago. Oh yeah. I remember when our flights got canceled, we had to drive across the country. This was like our reality.
All to get to work, right?
Yeah. To get to work. Exactly. And now you've had 1 hour of sleep if you're lucky to close your eyes. And you're showing up and your boss is like, wow, somebody was on a bender all weekend. And you're like, no, actually, I just drove here from Toronto and please
played 2 hockey games, like been in a car for a while, shoveled a bunch of snow this morning. Like, it's totally normal.
It's fine. I'll get through this day. It's fine. And of course, because you can't just be a player, you also joined the CWHL Players Association. You were our co-chair, my co-chair at the time.
Where we became besties. Yeah.
It was honestly, it was wild. I cannot remember who said you need Crosley on the board. Like somebody, like one of the players that was representing one of the regions.
Could have been Jill.
It could have been. Yeah. Cause we had at the time in the CWHL, we had 1 national team member and 1 non-national team member as our player representatives. Yeah. And I was like, I need a co-chair. Like somebody needs to step up. And I don't like, I'm not good at asking people to do things. And Cros sends me an email like right away. It was like, hey, I'll do it. I was like, oh, okay. Like, sweet.
I was just a member and I loved it. I was like,
if anyone has listened to this episode, they're gonna be like, oh, of course she did that. Like that's
of course you did.
I'm like, yeah, pick me. Biting off a lot more than I can chew typically.
But it was a great friendship right from the get-go. And you're right, we did become best friends, like texting every day, all day, sometimes about hockey, sometimes not. So we carry on the CWHL folds, as you said. Now we formed the PWHPA. Instantly, I'm like, I need Crosley with me if I'm going to do this at all, because she's like my safe space of like sounding board and everything. So you kind of take a little bit of a different role with the PWHPA and you put some of your marketing expertise to use. So why don't you tell our listeners first what your role is like with the PA?
Yep. So it is
and everything.
I literally don't even know where to start because a lot of people probably don't realize, but there's not a ton of us outside of the players that put things together behind the scenes. Yeah, there's 5 of us that work together to make these showcases happen and to really bring things together. But I was running the CWHL PA social media accounts. And when we formed the PWHPA, I was like, oh my gosh, we have followers. Like, I'm not going to put this to waste. So changed the names and spent countless hours, for those of you who don't know, deleting every single tweet, post, like, etc. from the CWHL PA account over the course of like 3 years, so that I just had a clean slate for the PWHPA, but I didn't have to lose followers. So spent a lot of time doing that.
Dedication right here.
And somehow I still find my thumbs behind the PWHPA social media accounts. And so I do that. I build out our graphics and all of our fun stuff that we get to post. And I'm really lucky that I have a woman named Maria who helps me out on the social ends. She is a rock star. So I'm really fortunate to have those couple people to work with on a daily basis. And to be honest, like I'm convinced that I spend more time in meetings and talking to those like 4 or 5 people than I do at my regular day job, which is so much fun because honestly, we love it. Like that's the thing is like everyone is just so passionate about growing women's hockey and like really creating this true, viable, sustainable professional league for women's hockey. So we all have our hands in everything, on phone calls, on Zoom calls with our hosts, usually like NHL staff, just sort of going through travel logistics, meal logistics, hotel logistics, rink logistics, literally just everything operationally and everything that you could think of that goes into making showcases happen. So we all just collaborate on and make it happen.
Yeah. Between Ashley, Jana, Maria, yourself, and Chelsea. I had to shout them out, how to get their names out there because you guys really do. You're overworked, probably underappreciated, certainly not by present company, but it's hard to actually imagine the amount of work that you guys do behind the scenes. So we do appreciate you. And of course, I'm super thankful for you for being the thumbs because social media to me, like it's like I deleted Twitter for like 3 years because I'm just like, this is a mean place. People are like really rude and it hurts my feelings because I'm a little soft. Okay. So like when we started this whole thing, I was like, Kraz, you take media because I can't deal sometimes. So I got to ask you what it's like being on the other side. Like there's a human being behind these Twitter accounts. Okay. When you start to write your feelings down and cuss somebody out or tell them to make you a sandwich, remember there's a very nice young lady behind these thumbs. So why don't you tell us like some stories about being the thumbs of the PWHPA?
Some days are better than others. I will say, like when there's like news that goes out that's like bad or there's something that's controversial and everyone's like tagging the PWHPA account, just like shitting on us for whatever it is. Like it could literally be a jersey color.
Right.
And I take things so personally. Like there's some days where I literally have to like put my phone on do not disturb and like walk away for a minute because I'm like, why would they say that to me? But I forget that it's like, they're really just saying it in general at the PWHPA, but like, oh man, it is. Social media is tough on your mental health sometimes, I will say, but thankfully I do have those couple people that are like my lifeline and we just kind of talk literally all day, every day in a group chat about the most random things. Like, I mean, I can't even begin to tell you the amount of middle-aged men that send us DMs telling us our exact solution to professional women's hockey. And it's
so easy.
Every time it's like, oh, add body checking. Oh, get rid of your full face masks. Oh,
bitch, we don't have dental care.
The NHL. Solve problem solved.
Up until we get dental, up until we let's clear this out. Okay, up until we get paid enough to not worry about getting a car into whatever rental at the airport to drive ourselves on the Monday to get to work, and up until we actually get covered fully, injuries, anything and everything, then maybe I'll think about the facial like half shields and stuff. Yeah, like until then, I want to keep these things. Like
the NHL is like, okay, you get a stick or a puck in the face, you go into your little locker room, you have 2 doctors there, they stitch you up, they put numbing cream on, you get back out. Yeah. Oh, this guy's a nail gun. Okay. You know what's going to